Hello and welcome with a sharing mindset. So in the last session, the last video, you would have seen an overview of the framework itself, SAFe, right? And this is how it looks like, wherein you have the essential layer, you have the large solution layer, and the portfolio layer. Combining the three layers together created the framework. So in this session, we are going to focus on the most important layer out of these three, which is the essential layer. So that's what our focus is going to be, the essential layer. So let's do a deep dive and understand the mandatory layer, which is the essential layer. Okay. So, so this is where we have the essential layer, the essential configuration itself. So having this, let's do a deep dive and understand what exactly this has to offer. So as I said, essential layer is the mandatory layer and the primary layer of SAFe, which means the other two layers, the large solution and portfolio layers, they are optional, right? So usually companies, what happens is when they are in the transformation journey and they want to move towards scaling agile, they start with the essential configuration, right? And they get used to it, they get comfortable with it, and afterwards they will start adding the other two layers. Okay. Now, essential configuration, I'm going to divide this into two parts. Okay. As you can see, I'm going to draw a line out here. This is how I'm going to divide it. Okay. So understand this, right? So this has been divided into two layers, right? I know this line is not straight, and there is a reason for that, right? So we call this layer below, this is the team layer, all right? And the layer above the red line is the program layer, okay? So we have two layers within Essential. I call it the two hidden layers, right? The team and the program, right? Now let's understand the team layer. So the team layer, which is our focus right now, this is same as our Scrum. Okay, so this is same as our Scrum, the way things work. You can do a one-to-one mapping, and it is exactly the same as that. So we have three roles. As you can see, we have the product owner, we have the Scrum Master, and we have the doers who do the work, the technical folks who actually deliver value to the customers. So in SAFe 5.0, we don't call it the dev team. In Scrum and the previous versions of SAFe, we used to call them the dev team. But out here in SAFe 5.0, we don't call it the dev team because sometimes the name dev team is misleading, all right? So it's not just the development team who delivers value to the customers. It's a combination of business, dev, ops, support. Everyone is there who delivers value to the customers, all right? Now, keeping that in mind, we have the product owners and the scrum masters. They play a vital role. They play a specialist role in delivering value, right? Of course, the technical folks, they do the actual work, but the two specialist roles are product owners and scrum masters. Okay, all of the three combined, they form the agile teams, right? So when I say agile teams, immediately you need to understand it's a combination of the doers, who are actually the technical folks who are doing and delivering value, plus the scrum masters, plus the product owners. All of them combined form the agile team, right? Okay. Now let's understand, what is the backlog at the team level called? So we are at the team level, right? So what is the backlog at the team level called? Yep, you guessed it right. It is called the team backlog, right? So the backlog at the team level is called team backlog. And what does the team backlog contain? It contains stories. Look at this, right? It contains stories and it contains enablers. All right. Now, user stories, you must be familiar with user stories. They are actually the requirements from the customer's perspective, right? Usually it is the functional requirements from the customer's perspective, understanding the roles and responsibilities of the customers. We want to deliver value. So we write it in the form of requirements, in the form of user stories. Okay. Now, we understand stories are functional. What are enablers? Enablers are technical stories, right? A story cannot be complete without the technical support that it needs. For example, you will need some non-functional requirements. We need to talk about security. We need to talk about performance, scalability, availability. You know, uh, all the ETs, right? All those things will be there to support the story. That's when the story can be said is complete, right? So serviceability, availability, scalability, right? All those things are very important for the story to be complete. Otherwise, it will not serve the purpose and deliver full value to the customers. So that is why we need enablers. So enablers are nothing but technical stories which support or enables the story to be complete, right? So there are 4 types of enablers. We will probably do another video on the types of enablers and some examples from that perspective. But just for you to understand, there are 4 types of enablers. You can categorize them in these 4 areas. So infrastructure enablers, architectural enabler, exploration enablers, and compliance enablers. So these are the 4 types of enablers. Okay. Infrastructure enablers are mainly from the infrastructure's perspective. Of course, the name itself says that you need the infrastructure in place, the environments in place, the data in place, the network in place. All those things have to be there. Of course, you need to do some kind of an automation, building APIs. Those will become under architectural enabler. The exploration enablers are nothing but research. Sometimes you're not sure if the solution is going to work or not, so you want to research on it. So you can call it, prototypes, proof of concepts, spikes, research, whatever name you give it. That's usually comes under exploration enablers. And the last one is compliance, right? Security compliance, accessibility, access rights, all those things have to be there, documentation. So you need to have a lot of compliance in place. That's very important for the companies. Those things come under compliance enablers, okay? So all those things will be part of your backlog, which is the team backlog. Remember, we are still at the team level, all right? Team layer. Of course, it can have other items within the backlog, which is maintenance, right? Defects, technical debt, and all the other factors. If you want to add it to your backlog, no problem, you can do that as well. So the golden rule that we used to follow from backlog perspective is this: if something is in the backlog, it may get done. If it is not in the backlog, it will not get done. It is as simple as that, because by having this golden rule, then there are no assumptions, right? There is no scope, or there is no chance of anyone making any assumptions, right? So that's why it's very important to follow that. So we have the team backlog. Of course, we have which contains stories and enablers. Now the question is, who owns the team backlog? The product owner owns the team backlog. All right. So the product owner owns the team backlog, and they will also prioritize the work from the top, right? So they will, of course, they will be able to prioritize the stories very well, because the product owners are the one who writes the stories. It is functional, isn't it? They talk to the business, they understand what the requirements are, they break the requirements into stories. What about enablers? Product owners are not supposed to be technical, although they need to have some kind of a technical know-how, which will really help, but they are of course not the experts, technical experts. So this is where they take a lot of help from the technical folks who write the enablers and who discusses with the product owners. And after the collaboration with the technical and the product owners collaboration, the product owner will be able to prioritize or reprioritize the enablers as well. Okay, of course, in collaboration with the teams. Okay, so this is how product owner plays a vital role in prioritizing the work within the backlog. Scrum Masters, you already know Scrum Masters play a vital role in setting up the process. They are the servant leaders, they are the coach, they are the mentors. They play, they remove or they help remove impediments. They are also the gatekeepers by supporting or protecting the team from new requirements. So all those things the Scrum Masters play within the organization. So they play a vital role out there. All right, so we understand the roles and responsibilities. We understand what the team backlog contains. Now the question is this: what is the cadence at this level called? Right? It's called the iterations. So in Scrum we call it sprints, but in SAFe we use the word iterations. Okay. So having iterations or iterations, we understand that it is in smaller sectors, smaller sets that we deliver value to the customers, right? So smaller increments, and those increments are called iterations. SAFe recommends a 2-week iteration, right? SAFe recommends a 2-week iteration. So after we have this backlog, now what happens is the teams either use Scrum or Kanban or a combination of both to start delivering value to the customers, right? So that's very important for you to understand. This is normal team level agility, with which I'm sure you're all familiar with. But what does SAFe has to offer further, right? So understand the scenario that you go to your manager and say that, you know what, we are trying to deliver value, but we are not able to deliver value efficiently. And managers will like, why? What happened? Why are you not able to deliver value? You're all agile, right? So you probably will say that, you know what, we are not able to deliver value because the work is getting really complex and team level agility is not enough, right? Team level agility is not enough for the coordination and collaboration that we need with others, right? Because when you talk about team level agility in a normal company, what happens is that only the technical team or the team who's working at the lowest level are agile. The organization, other than the teams, they are not following agile. They are still waterfall. The way of thinking is different, right? So there is usually a conflict. That's why a lot of times, even though the teams are agile, the company is not able to deliver full value to the customers. So from that perspective, manager will ask, okay, what do we do? So that's when you need to say that it's time for us to scale. All right. So when the work becomes complex, it's time for you to scale. And that's when you introduce the program layer. All right. That's when you introduce the program layer. All right. But how do you know the work is complex? What is the definition of complexity? So your definition of complexity could be different than mine, right? So this is what it is. Even though SAFe recommends a number for you to scale, it's up to you to decide, up to the company to decide when you want to scale up. So as SAFe recommends, if the company has, or if the program has around 50 to 125 plus, okay, 50 to 125 plus. If the company has 50 to 125 plus people working together to deliver value on the same product, right? That's when you know it's time to scale. Now, this number 52 to 125 plus is called the Dunbar's number. The Dunbar's number which says that up to 125 people can work, in an organized chaos fashion, right? And that's why it is important to have that. So again, there's just a ballpark figure. This is just a best practice by SAFe. You don't have to follow this blindly. You can customize based on your needs, right? So once we have this, you know that, all right, let's scale up. Now, when we talk about scaling, this is very important for you, right? So we introduce the program layer. Now look at this, the team layer and the program layer. So I'm just going to clear this and draw it again for you to understand things better, okay? So let me draw this out this way, right? So as I said, this is the team layer, okay? And this is the program layer, okay? Now, there is a 1:1 correlation between the roles and responsibilities from the team and the program layer, okay? So as we know, there are 3 roles which is defined at the team level. Similarly, there are 3 roles defined at the program level as well. So at the team level, we have product owners. Similarly, at the program level, we have product management or product managers. At the team level, we have the doers, the technical folks who do the work. At the program level, we have the system architects, the system engineers who are also technical. At the team level, the person who takes care of the process, they are called the Scrum Masters. At the program level, the person who takes care of the process, they are called RTE. RTE stands for Release Train Engineer, right? They are Chief Scrum Masters. Okay, so this is how you need to understand there is a 1:1 correlation between three worlds, between the two worlds, between the three roles. Okay, the backlog at the team level is called team backlog. Similarly, the backlog at the program level is called program backlog, right? Exactly, that's what it is. The team backlog contains stories and enablers. We just spoke about that. The program backlog contains features and enablers. So this is what it is. Now you'll wonder what exactly are features. Features are a collection of related stories. Okay. So basically you break down the features into smaller stories. So that's what feature is all about. Okay. So we have these features, we have these enablers, we have the program backlog, and which contains features and enablers. Team backlog, who owns the team backlog? The product owner owns the team backlog. Now, who owns the program backlog? The product managers or product management, they own the program backlog. Okay, so this is how you need to understand the difference between the two. Now let's get into the next part, which is the increments at the team level, as called iterations, whereas the increments at the program level is called program increments. The increments at the team level is called iterations, and the increments at the program level is called program increments, or in short, it is called PI, right? PI. Okay. Now this is a game changer, and this is where SAFe has a lot of value. Okay. Now you can see that this bar represents one PI. This duration is one PI. Okay. This duration is the second PI. So this is how we have PIs, similar to what we have in increments or iterations at the team level, or sprints at the team level. So this is the cadence. Okay, this is the time box which is defined. All right. Now the next question is, what is the first ceremony for a sprint or iterations? The first ceremony for iterations or sprint is sprint planning, isn't it? Sprint planning or iteration planning meeting. Similarly, what is the first ceremony for PI, which is called PI planning? There you go. It is called PI planning. And this is what you need to understand, that PI planning is one of the most important events of SAFe. It is the heart and soul of SAFe. It's very important for you to understand this. Okay. Now, the question is, what is this train? You see this train? This train is called the Agile Release Train. All right. Now we have a concept of this Agile Release Train in SAFe, and the question is, who attends Agile Release Train? Sorry, not who attends, who is on board this train? And the answer is everyone, right? How many people do we have? When we scale, we have around 50 to 125 people, right? So it's around 100 people. So everyone who is a stakeholders in delivering value to the customer is part of this train. You know, we talk about development, developers, we talk about testers, we talk about architects, we talk about operations team, infrastructure team, you know, compliance team. We have got the business themselves, the customers, the vendors, you know, the finance team, the ethical team, whatever it is, right? If you are the stakeholders, you better be there, right? So that's part of your number of people who are part of this train. And of course, the key stakeholder for us is they are the business owners. Okay. Now, this is what essential configuration is all about. Okay. There is one more thing that I want to make sure you understand, which is the architectural runway. You see this architectural runway? So architectural runway, you can think of this analogy. See, for the trains to run, you need to lay the tracks or the rail, isn't it? So the train runs on tracks. Similarly, for value to be delivered to the customers, you need to first build the tracks, isn't it? For the teams to start delivering, you need to build the tracks. Now, what are tracks? Tracks are nothing but your infrastructure. right? The network has to be in place, the environment has to be in place, the database has to be in place, the data should be there. All those things are nothing but your tracks. Without these things, the customers will not get value because the teams will not be able to deliver their product, right? They will have a lot of roadblocks or bottlenecks. And that is why this architectural runway plays a vital role. And what builds the runway? The enablers. You write the enablers in such a way that it helps build the runway, and then the features and the stories will consume it, right? That's what the idea of architectural runway is all about. All right. So we spoke about those things, and the most important thing that the product owner needs to focus on in this area is customer centricity and design thinking. So it's a collaborative way that everyone contributes to this customer centricity and design thinking, but mainly it is owned by the product managers, product management. So hope you had a good understanding of what this is, and we will talk about more details in the upcoming videos. And we will talk about the continuous delivery pipeline and DevOps and all those things, as you can see out here, in more detail later. All right. Thank you very much and stay safe. Take care.